Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things rugby union. Once again, I'm joined in studio with our very good friend, Pity Weepu. Pity, welcome.
How's it?
Oh, it's all right. You were away last week, tuned in remotely at the Ames Games?
Ames Games, yes.
And how'd things go netball-wise? Was there a bit of golf as well?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Obviously, busy time in the Bay of Plenty. There was about 13,300 athletes and kids that went, competed in a huge range of activities, sports and stuff like that. And then, so I went and watched my daughter play a bit of netball, and then also caddied for my boy.
How'd he go?
Oh, I thought he went all right, actually. First 2 days, obviously not used to doing back-to-back 9 holes, and then 2 different courses, and then the last day having to play with 3 different players. So that kind of put him off because he got to know the first 2 boys that he was competing against and become good mates, and then all of a sudden he's had to try and
Change it up
and meet new ones. So I think it kind of put him off a little bit. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty successful week.
Well, until he goes on a proper golf tour where it's 18 holes, then you go out drinking all night, then you're 18 holes the next day. Well, I've heard of those golf tours. That's what I'm saying.
You're talking about the 19th hole that you always go to.
Speaking of 19th hole, let's head up north to our very good friend Ben Searle of Surly Talk Sports. Surly, welcome back in, brother.
Yeah, cheers. 19th hole's where I do my best work as well, Paulie. You're not alone there, mate.
What is your handicap, Surly?
I think I'm playing off a 17 at the moment. Went out on the weekend and only lost like 2 or 3 balls, so I was pretty fizzed with that. That's a good day at the office for me.
What about you? You're always at Wainui Golf Club, so...
Not always, no.
Well, most of the time.
Shandon's just down the road.
Oh, are you closer to Shandon?
Yeah.
No. Are you?
Yeah, but I prefer to go to Wainui because my brother goes there and I've got the golf clubs and he uses them, so... If I need to go for a whack, I usually, hey, is that us? Go for a hit. A 14.
14? Oh, yeah, you do get out a lot then.
Hardly.
Crikey.
I wouldn't want to play against Surly. He gets a shot at pretty much every hole.
Every hole.
One.
I need it for my putting. I'm a notorious 3-putter at the moment, but always blame the equipment. It's not me. I just need a new putter. So, yeah, that'll be me.
That's usually me with my driver. As soon as it doesn't go down the middle, I'm like, I need a new driver.
Oh, a new one. You'd have to get one every round.
Exactly. Just haven't found the right one, eh? I know the feeling, bro. I know the feeling.
Have you still got those Mizuno clubs? Did you get any of those Mizuno clubs when it was when the All Blacks were getting all those?
No, that was before my time.
Oh, was it? Unlucky use.
No, I got Nikes. When Nike were making them.
Oh, really?
I was sponsored by Nike at the time, and I managed to twist the arm of the Nike rep, and I got a set. I've still got this. Wow. It's missing the driver, the 3-wood, and maybe the 5-iron. That's what happens when you lend them out to family, and then everything goes missing. I'm just like, oh, bro.
So those are Fano clubs.
Yeah, pretty much.
All righty. Let's get back into a bit of rugby, and a question for you guys this week. With the start of the NFL season, I thought, why don't we have a look at the current New Zealand players, either All Blacks or NPC? First of all, which player do you think would make the best running back in the NFL out of the current New Zealand players going around at the moment, either All Blacks or NPC players? Surly, you want to start?
Yeah, I went with a guy who inspired me on the weekend, actually, Big Tim Tavatavanawai. I reckon he'd be an unreal running back. One-on-one, he's so hard to shut down. He just breaks tackles. I think he leads the comp for tackle breaks. And I reckon he could play both sides of the ball, to be fair, because he folds people on defense as well. But yeah, I'd love to see Big Jim close to the line, little handoff from the quarterback. I reckon he'd be incredibly hard to stop.
Nice one. Pity you, a running back out of the NPC or the All Black
running
squad?
back. I was actually going to go with for my running back. Caleb Clark.
Oh yeah.
Pretty similar to Tavatava Nawai, but just not quite the ball of concrete that Tavatava Nawai is. But Caleb Clark's pretty handy with going into contact, but still quick and bloody good on his feet.
Both very, very good suggestions. I was going to go with Asafo Omua.
Yeah.
And I thought he'd probably be more of a third down back with that short yardage, just need to pick up another yard or two, straight up the guts. He bounces off people. Well, actually, people bounce off him when they try and tackle him. So he usually busts the first and or second tackle. And we know he's quite agile on his feet as well. I think he'd be good on Dancing with the Stars, to be fair. In fact, we might have that question in another episode. Which have you ever been on Dancing with the Stars, bro?
No.
Well,
you said you were keen to, though, eh? You said you were keen if someone offered.
Yeah.
No way. No, I have been asked, but I've turned it down. My ankles are no good.
That's not the reason. Come on.
That's not the reason. It's your pasta doble. Bro,
I'm coordinated. I'm coordinated.
Pasta doble. I thought that was an entree, an Italian meal.
I thought we were passing something around the circle.
Oh, the old tinny house. The old tinny house, eh? Come on.
Are we talking about rugby?
If the producers of Dancing with the Stars are listening, pretty keen. So
Yeah.
if you give him a call,
said no.
he might get in. He might just say yes this time. All righty. Back to the question. Which New Zealand player, current New Zealand player, would make a great NFL wide receiver? Surly?
I had two here. I had Will Jordan and Amoni Narawa. I think both tall, good frames for it, both quick with great hands and good footwork too. And I reckon one-on-one with a defensive player on them, they'd just lose them with their footwork, and then they've got the gas to make them pay too. So I chuck those two in.
Mine will be Rico or it's Matamavuki Nipkins.
Oh yeah. Is he down in Otago at the moment? No. Where is it?
He's with Taranaki, but he plays for the Landers and Super
That's
Rugby.
right.
Well,
Yeah, just because, his height, like Surly said, and then his ability to take high balls. So if he's getting a seed thrown out in front of him, he's not shy to go and get it. And the same with Rico.
I was thinking of that. He just played for Auckland. I just come back from injury. Just played for Auckland I think he played at fullback against Northland on the weekend. Crikey, his name just escapes me now.
is it that Tito Harris?
No. Did he play?
Oh, not Zahn Sullivan.
Sullivan, that's it. Zahn Sullivan. Yeah, I think I've seen him in real life. He's quite tall. He is. Looks like 6'4". And obviously he's fast, got good hand. He reminds me of like a AJ Brown or a DK Metcalf, that sort of wide receiver. He's got some wheels, and if you've got a corner marking him, that corner's going to have to be pretty tall. Otherwise, you chuck the ball up, he's going to outjump you. And he looked good. It was good to see him back on the field finally.
Sure.
Hopefully he gets through the NPC season, and maybe there's higher honours for him. I don't know. All right. Quarterback. We need someone who's going to guide the team around. Surly, who's your quarterback?
I went with Caleb Clark just because every time on the All Black socials, he's been on there quite often just throwing a rugby ball around. And, man, he can toss that thing. I know he loves his NFL as well, so I think he'd be a good option. And then I know you said New Zealand players, but I also had Quade Cooper in there because I don't know if you've seen his Instagram lately, but he's been throwing them as well. And he can do that behind the back flick pass for about 40 meters, which is pretty crazy scene. So I'd like to see Caleb Clark go one-on-one with a shootout with Quade Cooper. Pre-Bledisloe, maybe, a bit of pre-match entertainment.
For a minute there, I thought you were going to say Edmed, the North Harbour Aussie, who's been going very, very good.
Uncle Tane, yeah, he's been ripping up, mate.
Pity, who's your quarterback? You probably played alongside a few quarterbacks.
Angus Tavo. Angus has got a bit of a seed on him. He can throw a good dart. Every time we're at training, it definitely boys will start running around. It had a pretty accurate and big arm to throw a nice seed.
Yeah, I did not expect that, but I do like it.
Another one I could have said was Stephen Luatua. Oh, just because of the one that he threw across the field on the line out for the He's got a good dart on him too.
Gee, if we go back, you could probably include someone like a Zinzan Brook as well, who could flick it. In fact, he'd probably play every position on the field. He could kick a drop kick from halfway. But I thought I actually like the way that Harry Plummer went this season. I think he's got a head on his shoulders where he could read the defense and decide on the best option to go forward. So, yeah, Harry Plummer for mine. And once again, good to see him getting a bit of game time as well. And boy, oh boy, did Auckland. I don't know if, he added a wee bit of extra to that Auckland team against the Taniwha, who looked at the Taniwha, did look very, very good, to be fair, in that match. Okay, let's get on to the big stuff. And what are we? We're about 5 days out from the big test match between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. Rugby Championship time again after a wee break last week. And at time of recording on a Tuesday morning, even though we started a bit late because someone was late to studio.
Surly.
Again.
Hey.
I don't think it was Surly because he just has to walk from his kitchen to his studio.
We're alternating weeks, me and Pity. We're just trying to keep you on your toes, Paulie.
Yeah, just because you live here, Paulie, that's why.
The teams haven't been named. So, first of all, who do you want to see? Is there anyone in particular that you'd like to see in the starting 15 for the All Blacks, Pity?
Not particularly. Maybe Bodie back at the back. I know it's going to be a bit different. It's not the same sort of pressures that we have like we do against the South African team. But I mean, like, probably just in terms of continuity, keep that flow with him and D-Mac as the sort of two pairs that can run a team together without sort of one stunt taking over the other. But yeah, I'd probably say Bodie. Be good to see Bodie back at the back.
Shirley, for you, any particular player that you'd really love to see get a go this weekend against the Wallabies?
And I've done about 15 different backlines for this weekend, and each time I chop and change because you can put so many combinations together. But I think I'd like to see Proctor or Leonard Brown get a crack at 13, which for me could possibly then see Caleb Clark on the left. And I know Rico's considered a left winger as well, but maybe he could play on the right with Will Jordan at 15. I'm not sure how it would all work. It'd be great to get all of those guys in that starting team, but I'd love to see that that Geordie Barrett Proctor combination at the highest level now, because I think his ball playing, the lines he runs, I think he could help unlock us in that back line. So I reckon we unleash Proctor this week.
Funnily enough, he's the player that I was thinking of as well, Billy Proctor, just to see him get a bit of a go once again, and against sort of a step up in opposition, not from the Springboks, but just from, I guess, the opposition that he's played against so far. But outside of that, I guess if you look at it, the All Blacks are coming off 2 losses in a row. So I don't think Razor can take this game to, and I'm sure he won't. I don't think he can make wholesale changes, whereas if they had come off 1-1 against South Africa, maybe he could have been a wee bit looser and tried a few more things. For you, Surly, do you see this as let's just get the win on the board, and then we can see what we can do back in Wellington in a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, I think the players he released on the weekend to NPC gave an indication as to who will be starting. Like, we didn't see a Noah Hotham release, so I'm assuming that he's going to be one of the two halfbacks in this team. We saw guys like Proctor, Ruben Love all released to play, so I'm assuming that they're not in the 23 this week because there were other backs that weren't allowed to play. So I definitely think this is a must-win, and when you weigh it up, Sydney and Wellington, you could argue Wellington's more of a cursed venue for us, but you'd back the boys to get the job done on the road. So I'm sure he's thinking, get it done in Sydney, wrap up the Bledisloe, because that's one of the only trophies we have left in the cabinet. You can't afford to lose that one. And then perhaps he can look to experiment a little in that second Bledisloe game. At the same time, though, I think Razor, knowing him like we do, he hates to lose. He's got that must-win mentality, and 3 losses in a rugby championship isn't good enough for any All Blacks coach, let alone Razor. So I think he's treating every game as do or die, must win.
Pity for you. The All Blacks weren't that far away in South Africa. They lost by a combined 10 points across both tests. So they were within a score both times. So it's not panic stations, but obviously they'd like to get back in the winners column once again. Did Argentina do them a favour by smashing the Wallabies by 40 points in that last test, or are you expecting a bounce back from the Wallabies because they were embarrassed by the Los Pumas?
Yeah, that's leading the game at halftime and then getting absolutely pumped in the second half. It's mind-blowing. But yeah, I think they'll have a point to prove, and that was an interesting test, that one.
Yeah.
It was, but I actually think that the boys should, the way that they play, if they make a few changes in their attack to give them more opportunities, I think they'll be able to run rampant against the Wallabies. But like you said, they weren't far off. Although the second test we didn't score any tries. So it's just like, how do we finish some of those opportunities that they created? That's probably the only downside to them not winning the second game. I think it's just opportunities that they had, but they just didn't quite finish it for me. But yeah, if they have a bit more deception in their attack, especially around their pod, I think we probably need to move away from our smash and bash and try and tire everyone out, whereas everyone's at the same level of fitness now, that if you can move the ball around, use a bit more deception, I feel that the boys will be able to get the job done this weekend.
I think Pitty brings up a good point there, Surly. And this would be a few years ago where All Black teams would grind down the opposition in the first half and then have the superior fitness in the second half to let loose and then win games quite comfortably, where they were fairly close at halftime and then they just sort of let down in the second half. The opposition started to tire, and we used to see All Black teams pull away. And if you had never watched the game and looked at the final score, you would have thought that was quite an easy game from the start, whereas it was a bit of a slog in the first half, and then the superior, I'll say, skill set as well. The All Blacks, I think, skill set against a number of teams years ago would have been superior, as well as their fitness. That's not the case anymore. Other teams are a lot more professional. Their fitness is a lot better. They have a bench that can keep things going. So I guess, do the All Blacks need to sort of approach games slightly differently these days?
I think the key point you mentioned, for me, was the depth. And when you factor about it, those teams we're talking about there, the current All Blacks captain was coming off the bench in the last 20 minutes and trying to ice games behind Whitelock and Retallick. Like, the depth we used to have in this team was outstanding across the park. Not saying we don't have it now, but we're in the start of a 4-year cycle, and in 3 or 4 years' time, the players coming off the bench may just be to that caliber. But I do think we've lost a bit of sting in that last 20 minutes due to our starting side being world class, and then we're not getting that impact off the bench. Other teams are fitter, like you said, and it helps counter that. I would like to see us move the ball a little bit more, and I know Pitty's touched on that a fair bit, and I totally agree. Our pod shape, it's pretty old school now. You look at teams like Ireland and South Africa, they're moving a lot within their pods. They're painting different pictures every time. They've got a roaming forward that comes in late to make it a 4-man pod, whether he's inside or outside, and then those big guys can ball play. It just paints different pictures. For me, I think we've been a bit bash and crash, and then it's mainly our kicking game as well, like contestable kicks, little nudges. We're just handing away possession just as we start to get momentum. And it might have suited All Blacks teams in the past, but I don't think we have the aerial threats in our side at the moment. So I think we just need to cater the game and the way we play a little more to our strengths. But no doubt Razor will nail that. That just takes time. And he's got to kind of work out what he's got within that squad and then come up with the best way to play with that team.
Pitty, you used to put in a few box kicks. In fact, George Gregan used to tell you when you were going to put those box kicks in. But I guess if you're going to, there's nothing wrong with kicking the ball away if you know you're going to get it back more often than not. And at the moment, other teams are nullifying that, I guess, point of attack from the All Blacks by being able to first of all get up in the air and grab any kicks that come their way, and thereby all the All Blacks are doing is sort of turning over possession. So, like Surly, would you like to see the All Blacks sort of kick less unless they're sure or they're fairly certain that they're going to get retained possession?
Yeah, we always talk about like the 50-50 contestables that we can always, got 50-50 chance of winning back. But it's not about, if you lose it, it's about what you can do after that. And for us, it was, if you look at South Africa, what they do really well is if they don't win the aerial game, they try and put people on the ground straight away, and then they take that space because that's a vulnerable time to counter-attack. And just looking at some of the other teams are doing the exact same thing. Once the person's come down, they're trying to put them on the ground straight away just so that they can take that space because defence is coming back and trying to get back behind the ball to help secure it. And that's and they'll be in the worst position ever. They'll probably just be diving in and things like that. So that turns that whole 50-50 into potentially a 70-30 more than anything if you can get it right. But yeah, I think if we can keep it so that everyone's got a chance to, if both teams got a 50-50 chance of getting the ball back, it's what we do after that. So if we do get it back after we've put it through in the line and had an opportunity to regather it, it's what we do after that that counts the most. I mean, with Smithy, we knew that there was about a minute once the ball's been kicked to us that we could get an opportunity to reset or give ourselves an opportunity to either counter or move the ball away from space and get away from the danger until we got ourselves back into our instructions better. But yeah, if it's going to be kicking, it has to be like 50-50. Once if the opposition catch it, we've got to put them on the ground and take that space to make things a lot more positive for us as well.
Right, so looking at that first test between the All Blacks and Wallabies this weekend, Surly, are you convinced that this will be a big win for the All Blacks, or can you see this being a bit of a tussle?
Yeah, you asked Pitty before if that Argentina result helps. It makes me a little bit more nervous just because speaking to mates, they're like, if Argentina can put 50 on them, then surely we put 80 on them. And I don't think it quite works that way. It was one bad half of footy, and now everyone expects us to just run amok over in Sydney. I do expect us to win, and I think it'll be close to that 13-plus margin. It's more the way we win that I want to see. I just want us to play expansive, exciting, running rugby that suits our team, and we get the job done there. I can see it being pretty close in the first half, but then hopefully we blow things out in the second. So yeah, I'm thinking around that 15 to 20 point margin. I don't think it's going to be 40 plus like a lot of people are saying.
It looks like the bookies have probably got the line exactly where it should be. They've got the All Blacks as 13.5-point favourite, so sort of around that zone where you think the game will probably be, I guess, line up at. All Blacks are $1.17 pretty. Wallabies $4.60 to win. If you look at that, do either of those odds attract you? Or if you look at the line, Wallabies plus 13.5 or All Blacks minus 13.5. Any way you sort of leaning at the moment?
Not really.
Well, that sort of means that the bookies have got it pretty much where it should be. If all three of us are looking at it and thinking, I don't really want to go too hard on either side at that 13.5, that means that they're pretty much spot on. So I guess once the teams are named, do we start looking at putting a few try scorers together and setting up a same game multi? Is that what we should be looking at, Searley?
Yeah, I think once we see who those wingers are and who that midfield pairing is, that's when I'll start to throw some things together, because I think Will Jordan's gone 2 tests now without scoring a try. That's famine stuff for him. Normally he dots down every time he plays. So if he's on a wing, then absolutely get around him. Caleb Clark. I think his same game multis is where you'll look to extract some value.
Yeah, I think you can forgive Will Jordan. He come back off a lengthy injury spell. I guess a few punters probably expected him to just walk straight back into the team and then produce the sort of skills that he was showing when he was last in the All Blacks. It's taken him a couple of games, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him pick up a try or two this weekend. If you're looking at try scorers, anyone, before knowing the team, Pity, anyone that you think, if they are named, would be a good bet against the Wallabies?
Satiti.
Oh, Wallace. Oh, yeah. Is this a Wainui whisper you're giving us?
It's not.
What?
It's not. I just thought that his game against South Africa in the last test was pretty good. I mean, he played outstanding. Was able to bust through bloody tacklers and still get a few meters, and then got a few breaks up the middle and on the edges. So, yeah, if he was to be selected, which he probably should after his game against South Africa, I believe he would get a meat pie.
Do you think, Surly, Satiti should be selected because it'll do his confidence a huge boost? He's come through that. You've got to say, facing South Africa in South Africa is a different sort of kettle of fish to facing the Wallabies in Australia. Still going to be tough, but after having that experience, surely now we build on that and give him the confidence, say, hey, we were really, really impressed with how you went, and here's another go for you.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, South Africa was an unknown for him. He's come up against these Australian loose forwards all throughout Super Rugby, and he's dominated them in collisions too, which would give him great confidence. I'll be interested to see if they start him or if they go with Blackadder and then look to bring Wallace on with about 30 minutes to go, just to give us another injection of ball carrying once the Wallabies defenders tire. They might go with that high work rate of Blackadder first up and then look at Wallace as a bit of a 1-2 punch off the bench to help complement Artie late in the game. I'd love to see him start just because I like everything that he's done so far. He's young. If we invest in him in the next 4 years, come World Cup time, he could be a beast for us. It's just whether Razor goes back to that Blackadder combo that he knows so well, or whether he was happy enough with Wallace to give him the start. Does Blackadder add that same punch off the bench? I'm not quite sure. So it's probably a bit of that dynamic.
Righty-ho, Pity, we just mentioned Wainui Whisper, and I guess for those of you who don't know what Wainui is just short for Wainuiomata, which is a suburb just north of Wellington in the Hutt Valley, where Pretty Wipu grew up. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm correct so far. And it's,
You say east.
east. What?
West.
Well,
East.
well, northeast.
Oh, yeah.
Well, east, northeast. Anyway, it's over. You got to go over the hill to get to it. So it's a tight little community over there. I guess, what are they most famous for? I know the rugby league team back in the 90s won the New Zealand Championship. They went up
Lion
in
Red Cup.
Lion Red Cup back in the
I've won
day.
that a few times.
Hey?
Yep, they've won it a couple of times.
Yeah.
I was a ball boy too, one of the years that we went up there.
Ken Laban and the boys. In fact, Johnny Lomax, who went on and...
The four Lomax brothers.
Yeah. Oh, Arnold. David. And,
Tony.
well, Johnny went on to play for the Raiders and picked up a grand final medal, even though he didn't play because he got suspended the week before. Is that right?
Yeah, his son's probably a bit better than him. Doesn't get sunburned.
No, Tyrell, exactly. Tyrell, who currently props up the All Black squad. Scrum.
Tackle technique. Yeah, he got suspended for a high shot. But yeah, it was that growing up in that little valley was pretty cool time, and being is that again?
It just happened, but yeah, that's all good.
Through that time and being the ball boy as well was pretty special. With Yogi Rogers, who went to Manly as well.
Oh yeah. Well, he played in the halves, a standoff, wasn't he? Was he a fullback?
And then had Ali Davies.
Didn't he go across as well?
Yep. So we had a few that went over to play in the
NRL
Winfield Cup back then, I think it was.
Yes. Oh, and I think Wainui played in the... Was it the 10 in the 10s? Was it a sevens? Yeah, well, that's right, 7. They played against the Broncos.
They played the Broncos, Panthers. I think it was the Roosters, maybe.
The Broncos, and like they had Alfie Langer, I'm pretty sure, was playing in the Broncos around that time.
Yeah. Hancock,
Michael Hancock, Curry.
Yep. I think one of our boys ran around. Michael Hancock, actually.
Who was it? Was it Barty? No, it wasn't Barty.
Definitely wasn't Barty.
Wasn't Barty.
It was
Sorry,
Missy
Barty.
Futta. It was Missy Futta who ran around. But yeah, it was a pretty cool time. So if there's any whispers for this week, there isn't many really.
But next time.
The only one would be that from the Lions, because it's old timers and I'm an old timer. I'm an old timer. Just speaking to one of the management, a couple of boys they were disappointed with against Tasman, and they blew the opportunities when they created them. So some of them might be benched this week.
Oh,
maybe.
Oh,
maybe. Just waiting to see.
Just waiting to see. Okay, well,
Depends how they feel, I guess.
Well, that's a great segue for us. Why don't we have a look at the NPC from last week? And I guess one thing we found out was the lion had to go too deep into the sea to attack the shark, and the mako came out on top. Ranfurly Shield stays in the Tasman area for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think they don't have a home game until their Tasman Storm Week is the final week of the competition. And they've got to take on Auckland on a Wednesday night and then finish against Taranaki, both at home, which means, well, as far as I know, they're both Shield challenges in. They're last, so they've got 2 Shield challenges within the space of 4 or 5 days. But let's have a look at that Shield challenge, Surly. Look, it was a very, very tight game right up until the end, until, the young fella on the wing who just a wonderful individual try. He just sort of swiveled slightly, and I think it was it Riley Higgins that just missed him cold, and he scored in the corner, and that was basically it. They scored another try later on, but it was pretty much all done and dusted after that, Surly.
Yeah, it was a great game, wasn't it? I think the best part for me was the fans at the game, like that atmosphere. You could tell how much the Ranfurly Shield means to communities, and that's what we love the most about NPC footy, right? And that was NPC at its best on the weekend. Sold out. I think they said kids got to go to the game for free, that's a throwback to the old school days. And I think the game lived up to it. The first 20 minutes, you could tell it was a Shield game. Both teams looked really nervous. There was a lot of errors, a bit of force back, a bit of feeling out. But then from then on out, the game really did build into itself. And yeah, there were some very close missed tries that looked like tries live, and then you had the drama of the TMO popping up and saying no try. There were some massive efforts defensively from both teams on their scramble. It looked like multiple times there were going to be tries scored, some big individual performances. And I think the most impressive thing for me was Tasman's ability to win that game without having a line out. I think they lost, 10 line outs straight once they lost their skipper and Quinton McDonald. So to be able to go on and still win the game, not having such a crucial element of your game be available to you, I thought they did really well. But yeah, an exciting game, and it just reinforced to me that NPC really does have a place in New Zealand rugby. And hopefully Mark Robinson was watching that too, because I know he said that NPC isn't fit for purpose and they need to rejig things a little bit. But man, NPC is unreal. The public love it, and the Ramfurly Shield, there's nothing better than that.
Pity Surly's right. The atmosphere there was great. It's not a big ground, but they packed it out, and letting the kids in for free was great. And the kids got to run onto the field at the end of the game, which I know used to happen after every single game. In fact, I'm pretty sure you were part of games back in the day when kids were allowed to run onto the field after the game. And was that before your time?
No, I was fortunate enough to do that for a league test at Athletic Park.
Kiwis Kangaroos?
Yep.
Oh.
One of the highlights of my youth days. Dad took me to Athletic Park and watching a test there. But I think the best part of NPC at the moment is a lot of these provinces are actually trying to take their games away from all the big stadiums, which gives opportunities for the community to actually, or the grounds to be a little bit more packed, not having to fill a grandstand of 30,000 or 34,000. So, that creates a good atmosphere. So, obviously, when you've got the Shield up for stakes and there's an opportunity for someone to go down there and try and take it, you try and create the best atmosphere. And obviously with NPC, when there is a Shield challenge, every team that goes to the home team will throw the kitchen sink at them. And if they aren't successful, it still creates a good atmosphere for everyone that goes along to support.
If you look at the game, and as Surly said, Tasman had no line out. Was this one that Wellington sort of let get away from them? They probably should have controlled a good portion of that Shield challenge, and yet Tasman just continued to turn over ball. I thought their loose forwards were super, the Tasman loose forwards, up against basically the Hurricane loose forwards, minus Artie Severe. But is that one that sort of Wellington looking back will go, we probably could have done better there?
Yeah, I think they obviously didn't finish opportunities that they should have. They created a lot. There might have been about 3, maybe 4 tries that were left out there. But that not only means that they didn't do a good job. Tasman obviously done a good job to hustle back to stop those opportunities. But I think looking back, they'll be gutted about it. But obviously they've got to move forward to give themselves an opportunity to, get to the playoffs and try and finish what they missed out on last year. I know this is a year for them for unfinished business. They had a great season last year, and they just need to continue that momentum from last year into the playoffs, and hopefully they get the job done. But yeah, they'll definitely be gutted about the result, and obviously learn from their mistakes from the weekend, and hopefully they can rectify it and continue and have a good season.
Right, Surly, the team that used to have the Ramfurly Shield at the beginning of the season, Hawke's Bay, boy, oh boy, are they suffering from a wee bit of a hangover after that. They got absolutely dealt to by Waikato on the weekend. Waikato 50, that's 5-0. Hawke's Bay 5.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that we didn't mind Waikato as underdogs in this game, Paulie, but I don't think either of us saw them beating them by, 45 odd points. I thought D'Angelo Leilua really put his hand up and said, I need to be starting or getting more time at Super Rugby, because he was exceptional too. But yeah, I think that just goes to show the toll that the Shield can take emotionally on a team. And looking ahead to this week, Bay of Plenty paying $3.70 against Wellington. That's caught my eye straight away, because Wellington will be a bit deflated. They would have poured a whole lot into that Shield challenge. You could tell they were gutted at the end of it. How quickly they can bounce back against a quality Bay of Plenty team who just tipped over Taranaki as well. Yeah, if there's an upset this weekend at good value, I like Bay of Plenty purely because of that Ramfurly Shield hangover that you're mentioning Hawke's Bay were suffering.
Yeah. Pity, I guess now's as good a time for us to go forward and look at this weekend coming up. First of all, I'd like to have a look at that Waikato-Tasman game. So, because Tasman, Shirley just mentioned Wellington put a big effort into that Shield challenge. Well, Tasman put a huge effort in defending the Shield. So, if we look at this week, Tasman heading up to Waikato to take on the Mulu boys. And Waikato are still outsiders, $2.45 up against Tasman, who are $1.50. When you look at that, and I think Waikato are around the $2 mark against Hawke's Bay last week at home again. Is there a bit of value there for you for Waikato? Are the bookies not giving them enough credit?
I think they're just probably seeing what. I guess that they don't look at the result. They're probably looking at everything else other than just what happened on the weekend. But yeah, that captured my attention though. What the bookies are paying the Waikato team there. If they had paid them a bit more, I would have jumped on that straight away. You never know. We're still early in the week. But I think Tasman they may only lose maybe one this weekend, maybe who won't be potentially may not be available. But you never know. I mean, might be a different story about Havili there if he's not released to play this weekend. But I still think they're playing good footy, Tasman. I thought Wellington were playing good footy. But, the top two teams of the competition that hadn't lost the game go head-to-head. And obviously, if Marco have won the game on the weekend, it shows that they're still able to play some good quality footy against a team that's at the same level. So I think, Tasman should get the job done. But after Waikato's performance on the weekend, geez.
Oof. Okay. Let's go up north to Harbour, a place that Shirley's very familiar with. And this weekend is the start of their Storm Week. They've got Northland in Northland on Saturday. Then they've got to go to Taranaki on Wednesday next week and take on Taranaki. And then they've got a game back home Sunday week against Canterbury. So when you look at that, that's a tough little stretch there. Is there a chance that they might take Northland just slightly a wee bit easy and get a bit of a fright there, having a look towards either Taranaki on the Wednesday or Canterbury later on in a couple of weeks' time? Because teams are fighting for positions to make the playoffs, and it's fairly tight down from around about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a lot of teams that can jump in or jump out of that top 8.
Yeah, it's really tight. For me, I think they need to target this Northern game and get the win there. So that's where I'd be going with my strongest side. It's a rivalry game against a team that we share a Super Rugby province with, but also it's the one you can't afford to drop games against teams ranked lower than you. You can't be going in being like, Taranaki, they're a great side, let's play our best players then. You got to take care of the results that you think you can win. So for me, I'd be going Northland. I'd maybe rest a couple for Taranaki, and then I'd go hard again at Canterbury at home on the Sunday and see how we go. The thing in Harbour's favour is the bonus points that we've got. We've only had 2 wins, but we're sitting in 9th because we've had so many bonus points for scoring over 4 tries. We love scoring points and also losing close games. We're right behind counties who still have to play Canterbury and Wellington as well. So it's really going to come down to the wire, and how Harbour manage this Storm Week is going to determine whether they make playoffs or not. So you'd love to say go hard at all 3, but I think we've seen throughout this competition Storm Weeks at this time of the year, this late in the season too, where there's already sore bodies, it's incredibly hard. I've heard some whispers, Karl Tuinukuafe potentially back shortly. Ben Grant, who of course was with the Hurricanes, one of their locks, could be back shortly as well. So they could get a couple boosts back from injury, but I'll be going hard at Northland and then use that big rest period, that 8-day turnaround, to try beat Canterbury at home.
Oh, here we go. He's right. If we look at that table at the moment, Canterbury are in 7th place on 20 points. Counties Manukau on 17 points in 8th place. North Harbour on 16 points, so just 1 point behind counties, but they have a game in hand, of course, with Storm Week coming up. So they could make a big jump. Otago are on 12 points. Auckland, who have a game in hand as well, also on 12 points. So there's a lot of teams lurking just outside that sort of top 8. And Taranaki also on 20 points, just ahead of Canterbury in 6th place, just on points differential. So there's a lot that can happen between now and before the business end of the season starts. So I think next week we might just have a look and say, is there a team in the top 8 that you think is going to fall out? And if so, which team outside the top 8 is going to jump in? Or maybe there's 2 that you think might drop out and 2 that might jump up. But we'll have a look at that next week when we've got a bit more time. Funnily enough, we're behind schedule again.
Random.
Who would have thought? Hunch time. Shirley, you got a hunch for us? What do you think?
Do I have a hunch? Can we cut to Paulie and I'll think of something shortly? Obviously, that Markle one really took it out of me, so I've got to try cook something up here.
The old shark, the line had to go too deep into the sea, unfortunately. Pretty, you want to have a hunch about halfbacks?
I don't want any.
What?
No, not after that one hunch.
He's done hunching.
Not after the injuries that.
You can't just.
I can. Shush, just go with your one. Hurry up. I'll think of one next week.
Oh, okay. That's good. Let's remember that Pity said he's going to have a hunch for next week. I just want to have a look. Who are Wellington playing next week? Oh, Counties Monaco up there on the Friday night game. I don't know what he's going to have a look at there. Oh, maybe he's going to have a look at the midweek Ranfurly Shield Challenge, Tasman up against Auckland. Oh, don't tell me the Shield's going back to Auckland.
Or is this another black cloud over the tinny house type of hunch from Paulie Moatu with the All Blacks looking to snap a horrible streak against the Wallabies in your home city, mate?
Well, I won't be able to give you a hunch next week because I'm away for the week.
That's great for the All Blacks. Huge omen.
So I'm going to leave it up to you guys to sort out a hunch for next week. So you will have to have a hunch next week because I think Carl's going to be driving the ship for us next week with you two boys. So he'll be a lot more positive than me, but we all know that there's a curse down here at the Tinny House, and we just got to find out what it is and then reverse the curse.
Have you guys thought of going in and saging it?
I think, look, we're looking at a number of things. Maybe we need to get like a Catholic priest with some holy water and sprinkle it on the stadium. Maybe we have to get one of those, what do you call it, like crystal ball, looking into the future, tarot cards. We've got to look at every single angle because we need to fix this, Pity. It's not acceptable for the All Blacks to have that sort of record at the Tinny House. It should be a house of joy, and it's not at the moment. Well, it is for visiting teams. So we need to sort that out.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's home of joy, did you say?
Well, it should be.
Might have
it's
to
the
put a
Terra
bit of
House, not the
smoke in
Tinny House at the
the air. Hey,
moment.
might have
Mate.
to put a bit of smoke in the air.
Oh,
You mean like? Are you talking about those smoke machines they used to have the discos back
Well,
in the
you
day?
can't obviously do the real smoke, so you might as well pretend. Since you keep calling
get
it the
Snoop
pipe.
Dogg over to
Yeah.
hot boxer.
Maybe he could fix it. Yeah, I like
Uncle
that.
Snoop.
We'll see if we can get a hold of Snoop Dogg. I think he's a listener of the podcast. So
Yeah.
if
He sends through his tips every week, mate. He'll be interested.
I think if we could get his people to call our people, and maybe we can sort something out. We get Snoop over here. Yeah, he can get the shizzle with the dizzle on the rizzle.
Well, rumors he was IC Poussey 69 in the tipping comp. That was Snoop.
That's Poissy.
Poussey, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay, so I'm lost now. Where were we going?
Question.
Yeah.
Is there any betting during the Storm Week rather than every game one individually? Could you potentially put those 3 games together for like a bet?
For who?
No.
You mean like Tasman to win?
Yeah, he means like, could you go the
You know how
Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday game, that team to win all 3, but the odds don't come out until after that Storm Week game. You could go
Correct.
the first 2, I think. No.
Yeah, or maybe not even that, but you might be able to do the first one. Say, okay, if I win there, I'll put all my winnings on
Yeah, parlay it.
the next 2 games.
Nah, it's not the same. I want to try and bracket them all in the one.
Do you want me to?
Thing, so the first game I might Marcos might win 12 and under,
Right.
and then the second game against whoever, they might 13 plus.
Auckland, yeah.
And then
Taranaki.
12 and under.
So I'll ask the bookies if they would put out a special option.
Would they consider it?
Would they consider it? It's a
Because it could be a potential for
pity power play,
Yeah.
and he wants. I'll either ask them, can you just put out a price for Tasman to win all 3 games in their Storm Week, or I'll ask them to
for
go
any team for Storm Week. That'll be. I mean, that's surely a good incentive for punters to
You'll get
try
him.
and get those right.
First it was Tasman, now it's any team to win over Storm.
Tasman Storm Week. This
You're
week,
all
so,
over the place.
I'm just trying to incorporate it together, and since it's they're next.
I'm guessing they're going to say no.
He reckons you don't have enough work on your plate, Paulie. He's trying to up your workload, keep you accountable.
I'm just trying to confuse them before we start betting.
Oh,
Yeah, good.
I'm going on a cruise next week. I don't even care about what's going on.
Yeah, we'll tell Carl. Make sure you're.
Oh no, I'll send my tips through. Don't worry about that. Okay, well, I guess in terms of punting, we might as well get to it now. Surly, I'll just have a look what happened last week, and I think you were the only winner last week out of us 3. You had Otago plus 11.5.
Smart.
Auckland to win.
Smart.
Bay of Plenty plus 7.5. I don't even think they needed the plus.
Nah.
And our good friend Banksy to score a try for North Harbour. Those all came in, paid around $4. So you are now in the positive for the season, up $34.40 for the season so far.
Huge.
So everyone is in the positive. Let's see. Pity had Wellington to win their game on Wednesday against Otago, which they did. And then the winnings from that, you wanted to put on Wellington to beat Tasman. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Then you had Peter Umaga Jensen to score a try against
games.
Otago and against Tasman.
Scored nada.
Nada. Well, looks like your hunches are killing Umaga Jensen.
It wasn't a hunch. It was
Well,
just a bet.
It was a bet. Okay, it was a bet. But you're still up 505.60 for the season. And I had a double, 2 teams. Both teams lost. I don't care. I lost. And I'm still up 7, 8, 9, 37 for the season. So
All thanks to Alex Talia scoring a try. Who would have thought?
oh, jeez. Go, Alex. Shirley, your 100 this week with the All Blacks. Are you heading towards the All Blacks, or are you sticking with the NPC?
I've got a little multi here regarding. I was too nervous around the All Blacks and margins and things like that, so I just took them head to head, which is not paying a lot, $1.17. So you got to chuck them in a multi just to get some value. So I've gone with Canterbury to get the win over Counties. Bay of Plenty on a plus 15.5 line. You still get $1.50 for that against Wellington. I think that's great value. Harbour to beat Northland. Taranaki plus 10.5. And then you got the All Blacks in there. That pays $3.58. I'm thinking I'll chuck all 100 on that. But if the TAB was to offer up a market for Sean Stevenson to score more tries than Jeremiah Murray, I'll be willing to chuck 25 on that too, because that is his future brother-in-law. Jeremiah is engaged to shoot his sister. So I think there's a bit of a family duel going on there. Two great try scorers. I wouldn't mind having a cheeky $25 on that.
Oh, gee,
There's the whisper there.
That is the whisper. That's the Surly whisper. That's the Walkworth whisper.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Kevin Campion and Shane Webke, who I think are brother-in-laws. And there was a game, the Wars against the Broncos, and they just got up from a tackle, and then bang, I think Campion just knocked Webke smack on the chin. Webke had a pretty big chin, to be fair. But yeah, I'd love to see the family dinner after the games. That'd be very, very interesting. So I like the way you're thinking there, Shirley.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
I'm going to go with a multi.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Hawke's Bay 12 and under.
Ooh.
Harbour 13 plus. Waikato 12 and under. And there's no odds between Auckland, Manawatu and Otago and all that. And I'll go Auckland 13 plus. I'll put 50 on that.
It's going to pay a bit.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put the odds. Halftime Bay of Plenty leading at halftime, and then Wellington winning.
Ooh, over the top.
50 on that.
Not the worst. I don't mind that. Oh boy, are we going to see some upsets this weekend? I think so. I'm going to go with Taranaki to beat Hawke's Bay. I think that Ranfurly Shield hangover just continues another week or so for the Magpies, unfortunately. So Taranaki to win at $2.10. And I'm going to put that into Waikato to beat Tasman. I think there might be a little bit of a letdown here for Tasman after that big emotional win in the Shield defence against Wellington. So Waikato to win at $2.45. So just Taranaki into Waikato, the whole 100 on. Easy peasy, done. Promotions. I'm just having a little bo peep now. I know the boys will look at, obviously, we've got the Mega Multi Oval Ball promotion on, that's on the NPC, NRL, the Rugby Championship. So there's plenty of options for you to get on there, and I'm sure that the guys will be putting something together for the All Blacks against Wallabies, but I don't see it now, so they must be still working on it. Right. Shirley, this weekend, what are the plans?
Oh, I think I'm just going to strap in for Super Saturday. We've got Harbour versus Northland, got the All Blacks game at that beautiful kickoff time that we like, that Arvo footy, and then we'll roll into some more finals of rugby league. So, yeah, it's a huge Saturday. Looking forward to it.
Pity, yourself?
Working the Lions game, sideline commentary.
Oh, is that back at the stadium, this one?
Yep, this week, yep. And then probably a bit of chill time. Maybe check the tides and see if I can get out for a bit of a fish and put the net out to catch some whitebait. I don't know. Yeah, I've got to check. To be fair, pretty just cruising at the moment with that.
Chilling.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for a mate to let me know if the bait's running, and if it is, then I'll try and head out and try and Set a net.
Who's the mate?
Can't tell you.
Wait, what?
Oi.
I
Oh,
just one of the cousins up in Foxton.
okay.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
that's about it. Oh, and then hopefully Manly. Oh, are Manly playing this weekend? Yes, they are.
Yep.
Hopefully they lose because that's Billy's team.
Oh, what? How
It's
good was that?
brutal.
Wow. How good was that try by, was it
Oh,
Kohler?
Yeah.
Man.
One boot.
Massive.
One boot in the end when he crossed the line. Apparently back in the day that wouldn't have counted. Have you heard that yarn?
Got to have both boots on.
You got to have all your kit on. Apparently back in the day that wouldn't have counted. Imagine that. As if we don't have enough TMO intervention. Sorry, mate. Lost your boot.
Either.
Yeah.
Would have been no TMO. Would have been just off the eye of the
Of Of the one ref. Just the one.
Chaos.
Yep, can't wait for it. All Blacks back in action this Saturday, as Surly mentioned. I think it's a 5 o'clock kickoff for us,
5:45. So that's great timing.
which is like, was it 3:45 over there in Australia? So, yeah, an afternoon kickoff. Looking forward to it, and it just means we can pack in as much sport as we want this weekend. But yes, you guys will be back next week. I won't be. But I'm sure that Carl will make sure that the show doesn't go off the rails. We know that Pity will have a Wainui Whisper and a hunch next week.
Big week for Pity.
So I look forward to that. And I'll definitely get my picks in because I'm not going to let Carl ruin my wonderful record at the moment.
What? Haven't majority of your bets been from Surly and I?
I reckon you being in international waters will help your betting, though, I reckon.
Anyway, Surly, thanks for joining us once again. Have a great weekend. And I look forward to listening to the podcast next week. Pity, thanks for coming in, even though you got held up by traffic, didn't get here on time. We're waiting.
Stayed in Batoni, would have been easier.
Rumours he was trying to cancel that shield parade that he planned for today, and the local council wasn't happy with it, so he had to stop by their offices before he did the pod.
Oh, what are we going to do with all that ticket tape? I don't know.
Yeah, no good.
The confetti, no, we'll have it for when they win it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
here's the hunch.
Here's
All
the
the
hunch.
coming out there. Alrighty, and thanks to you guys for listening once again to the Pick and Go. We'll be back again. Well, I won't be, but these two boys will be. They'll be back next week with another edition of the Pick and Go.